What if I told you that everything you thought you knew about God was only half the story? The concept that shaped civilizations, started wars, and given countless people meaning, has two distinct faces that few recognize. This is not about religion versus atheism. This is something deeper. Today, we're diving into one of the most profound distinctions in spiritual philosophy, the exoteric versus the esoteric understanding of God. And for those joining for the first time, this channel explores the ancient wisdom that can transform your modern life. We cut through the noise to find clarity, not through quick fixes, but through timeless truths. The distinction we're discussing today transformed my own understanding when I was at my lowest point. I had rejected the concept of God altogether, thinking it was all mythology and control mechanisms. But what I discovered was that I had only rejected one version of God, the exoteric version. Let's start with clear definitions. Exoteric comes from Greek exotrikos, meaning external or public. It refers to knowledge intended for the general public, the outer literal interpretation accessible to everyone. Esoteric comes from Greek esotrikos, meaning inner or within. It refers to knowledge reserved for an enlightened few, the hidden symbolic meaning beneath the surface. Think of it like this. Exoteric is the container, esoteric is the contents. The exoteric is the dogma, the ritual, the institution. The esoteric is the mystical experience, the direct knowing, the transcendent. The exoteric God is depicted as an entity separate from creation, often anthropomorphic, judging from above. The esoteric God is experienced as the fundamental ground of being, not separate from creation, but the very essence of it. This distinction exists in virtually every spiritual tradition. In Christianity, the church versus the mystics. In Islam, Sharia versus Sufism. In Judaism, the law versus Kabbalah. In Hinduism, the pantheon versus Advaita Vedanta. In Buddhism, the sutras versus direct meditation. The exoteric represents the finger pointing at the moon, while the esoteric is the moon itself. The exoteric understanding of God is what most people are familiar with. It typically describes a supernatural being, separate from creation, personal in nature, with human-like qualities albeit magnified, interventionist in human affairs, communicating through prophets and texts, establishing moral codes, promising rewards and punishments. This understanding serves important societal functions. First, it provides moral structure. By attributing moral laws to a divine lawgiver, societies establish ethical frameworks that bind communities together. Second, it offers psychological comfort. The concept of a protective father figure watching over humanity provides meaning and security in an uncertain world. Third, it creates social cohesion. Shared religious practices and beliefs unite people, creating strong communities with common values. The Stoics recognized the value of these religious frameworks. Marcus Aurelius participated in Roman religious ceremonies despite his more philosophical understanding of the divine. But here's where the limitations appear. The exoteric view inevitably creates division. When God is conceptualized in specific, concrete terms, disagreements arise about those specifics. Wars have been fought over the correct understanding of God's nature. It also encourages a transactional relationship with the divine. Prayer becomes negotiation, worship becomes appeasement, and morality becomes a means to divine favor rather than an end in itself. Most critically, it places the divine outside yourself, creating a permanent separation between you and God that can never be bridged. The exoteric view is not wrong, it's incomplete. It's like describing water to someone who's never experienced it by showing them ice. Yes, ice is a form of water, but it misses water's fluidity, its ability to take any shape, to penetrate everything. The esoteric understanding of God transcends conceptualization. It's not about belief, but experience. The esoteric view doesn't reject the exoteric. It transcends and includes it. The personal God becomes a symbol, pointing toward the impersonal ground of being. Religious stories become metaphors for internal psychological processes. Consider these parallels across traditions. Christian mystics speak of union with God. Sufis seek fana, annihilation of the separate self in Allah. Kabbalists seek divakut, cleaving to the divine. Advaita Vedanta teaches moksha, liberation through recognition of one's identity with Brahman. Zen Buddhism aims at satori, direct insight into one's Buddha nature. All point to the same esoteric truth: the separation between you and the divine is an illusion. The psychologist Carl Jung recognized these patterns across cultures and called them archetypes of the collective, unconscious, universal psychological structures that manifest in different symbolic forms. But why is this understanding esoteric? Why isn't it more widely taught? First, it's difficult to conceptualize. Language itself creates subject-object distinctions that the esoteric experience transcends. Second, it's threatening to established power structure. If divine authority is directly accessible within each person, what need is there for institutional intermediaries? Third, it requires direct experience. Reading about swimming doesn't make you a swimmer. The esoteric must be realized, not merely understood intellectually. The ancient wisdom traditions didn't see these views as contradictory but complementary, serving different functions for different stages of development. The exoteric provides the foundation: ethical guidelines, community support, and initial conceptual frameworks. The esoteric provides the culmination: direct experience, transcendence of conceptual limits, and ultimate liberation. This is why many traditions have both public teachings and initiatory mysteries. So how do we integrate these understandings in modern life? First, respect the exoteric traditions while looking for their esoteric core. Every religion has its mystics, those who penetrated beyond the literal to the experiential. Their writings can guide us toward deeper understanding. Second, develop practices that facilitate direct experience. Meditation, particularly non-dual awareness practices. Contemplative prayer, moving beyond asking for things to simple presence. Philosophical inquiry, questioning assumptions about the nature of self and reality. Mindful engagement with nature, experiencing interconnection directly. Service to others, recognizing the divine in all beings. Third, cultivate the virtues emphasized by Stoic philosophy. Wisdom to discern the appropriate level of teaching for each situation. Courage to face the dissolution of familiar conceptual frameworks. Justice in respecting others' spiritual journeys. Temperance in not imposing your understanding on others. The integration of exoteric and esoteric creates a complete spiritual approach, one that honors tradition while transcending its limitations, provides ethical structure while allowing for direct experience, and respects community while fostering individual realization. As the Zen saying goes, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. The forms remain the same, but the understanding transforms. Consider how this applies to modern manhood. Many men today reject traditional religious frameworks, entirely sensing their limitations. Others cling desperately to fundamentalist interpretations, fearing that without rigid structures, all meaning collapses. But the mature masculine path integrates both perspectives. It maintains ethical discipline and community engagement while cultivating direct spiritual experience. This balanced approach is what the Stoics embodied. They participated in social and civic duties while maintaining an inner philosophical understanding that transcended conventional thinking. This enabled them to remain centered in chaos, to act with purpose in uncertainty, and to maintain tranquility amid suffering. Look at how Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, navigated this balance. Publicly, he performed the expected religious duties of his office. Privately, in his meditations, he contemplated the deeper nature of existence. All things are interwoven with one another. A sacred bond unites them. This integration offers a path through our current cultural divisions. Instead of the polarization between religious fundamentalism and militant atheism, we can recognize the partial truth in each perspective while transcending their limitations. The exoteric provides form, community, and ethical structure. The esoteric provides depth, direct experience, and ultimate liberation. Together, they create a complete approach to spiritual life. But this is not merely philosophical theory. It has practical implications for how we live. When we recognize the exoteric nature of religious forms, we hold them more lightly, respecting their value without becoming rigid or dogmatic. When we glimpse the esoteric dimension, we discover a profound connection that transcends all divisions: political, religious, cultural. This understanding is particularly relevant for men seeking deeper meaning. Modern life has stripped away traditional frameworks without providing adequate replacements. Many men oscillate between mindless hedonism and rigid fundamentalism, finding neither satisfying. The integration of exoteric form and esoteric essence offers a more mature path, one that provides structure without confinement, meaning without delusion, community without conformity. Consider your own approach to spirituality. Have you rejected all religious forms as outdated superstition? Or have you clung to literal interpretations while ignoring their deeper meaning? The invitation is to honor both dimensions, to engage with spiritual traditions respectfully while exploring their esoteric depths through direct experience. The distinction between exoteric and esoteric understandings of God isn't academic. It's practical and transformative. When we recognize that the exoteric God is a pointer toward the esoteric ground of being, we free ourselves from unnecessary conflicts and limitations. We can honor religious traditions without being confined by them. Most importantly, we recognize that what we're seeking is not distant but intimately present. The 20th century philosopher Alan Watts put it this way: "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself." This realization doesn't lead to moral relativism or spiritual narcissism. Instead, it fosters profound responsibility and compassion. If all is divine, then how we treat each part matters infinitely. The Stoics understood this. Their concept of the logos, the divine reason permeating all things, bridged the exoteric and esoteric. They participated in conventional religious practices while maintaining a philosophical understanding that transcended literal interpretation. This balanced approach is exactly what our polarized world needs. Now, neither dogmatic fundamentalism nor dismissive materialism, but a perspective that honors both the form and essence of spiritual truth. I invite you to reflect on your own understanding of the divine. Have you been limited to the exoteric? Have you rejected the exoteric without exploring the esoteric? Where might integration be possible in your own life? Remember, this journey isn't about arriving at the correct conceptualization of God. It's about progressively refining your understanding until you recognize that what you're seeking is what's doing the seeking. As the Persian poet Rumi said, "What you seek is seeking you." If this exploration resonated with you, deepen your journey by joining our community. Watch the next video about why money is infinite energy. The link is in the description below. Until next time, remember that the most profound truths are not found in dogmas or doctrines, but in the silent awareness that underlies all experience.